Hey everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today in this video we're going to be talking all about grinding rims. So firstly, as you can see, my old rims had perished just a little bit over time. They'd cracked in several places and were really not at all suitable for what I needed them for. So I decided to build up some new rims, this one being one of the examples. It's a Jitsi rim on a clean hub and it's got a nice fresh braking surface that needed to be ground up, so I thought it'd be perfect for this kind of video. Oh yeah, that's Dudu just doing some quality control. Once the rim was all built up, I needed to put the wheel on the bike and then get the tools ready. The grinder that I use is a Ryobi 18-volt cordless grinder. It's got a handle, it's got some decent power behind it from a nice 5-amp-hour battery, and it's got a guard on it that protects bits from flying away. It's also specifically using a cutting disc. Cutting discs are really good for grinding rims, and they're very different from the other kind of grinding discs, which, if you don't know, a grinding disc looks like this. It's a big fat disc and it's used to make things nice and smooth. A cutting disc is used to make things either be cut in half or nice and sharp in this case. So once we've got the right tools for the job, we need to get the bike ready. Now the first thing you need to do is to let all of the air out of the rear tyre, and I mean all of the air. Some people do genuinely grind their rims with the tyres on and fully inflated, which I can't get my head around, but for this method I like to let all of the air out of the rear tyre, and I really mean all of it. Push down on the valve until you get the tyre completely flat. What you then want to do is grab a little bit of plywood like this, or any other kind of wood that's about 12 to 18 mil thick, which you can use, and we'll come back to why we need that in a little bit. You then want to get the bike ready and set the wheel up so that you know where the valve hole is. This is a brand new rim, so it's going to be pretty obvious where I have and haven't ground it, but if you're doing a regrind, you obviously need to know where you start and finish. Once you've got the bike in the position where you want it to be, you want to get your piece of wood and stick it between the rim and the tyre. This obviously protects the tyre. It means you don't have to use your fingers and put them in the danger zone of the grinder. And speaking of danger, you also want to have some kind of protection for your eyes. Cutting discs can break and you want to protect your eyes at all cost. Once you've got everything nice and set up and you're happy and ready to proceed, you want to start grinding. I'm doing a very harsh grind here, so I've got the grinder at nearly a 90-degree angle and I'm pushing relatively firmly against it. You obviously don't want to push too hard, and if it's your first time grinding a rim, you want to start off really lightly, because the last thing you want to do is accidentally cut your rim in half, which is easier done than you would believe. Once you get started, you'll get into a bit of a rhythm. There's a couple of things that you want to remember. Firstly, make sure you grind the whole braking surface. Obviously, it's only a tiny bit of the grinding disc that's actually touching the rim, and the braking surface is usually quite wide, so sometimes you have to make a couple of passes on the same spot to get it right. The second thing is be consistent. Try and push with the same amount of force, using the same kind of angle all the way along the rim. You also generally only want to be going in one direction, so just moving the grinder down rather than pushing it up and down, as people sometimes do. Once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to go a lot quicker than what I'm doing here, but this is obviously just a practice video, so I'm being nice and safe. Once you've gone as far as that one bit of wood will protect you, you want to move the wood around to the next spot so that you can carry on grinding the rim. There's nothing to cheat on with this, it's just a laborious process, and you have to just be aware and careful and thinking all the time so you don't slip or miss anything, and try and use the same amount of pressure and force all the way around. Once you've got to the end of the rim, you should have a nice, shiny, rough-looking surface that, whilst it might be irregular in spots, should be fairly consistent all the way around. Yeah, you'll also have quite a lot of dust on everything, so do make sure you wipe or blow that off, especially from the rim itself, as that will prevent braking performance. Once you've finished on one side, turn the bike over, go around on the other side. There's various discussions as to whether you should go clockwise on one side and counterclockwise on the other side, or go both ways the same way, or do just clockwise on both sides. But for me, I've found going pretty much the same way on both sides works really well, and it's worth experimenting with what kind of grab and bite that you want from your brake. Once you've done both sides of the rim, attach whatever kind of fancy pump you have, re-inflate the tyres up to whatever pressure you feel good at. I'm usually running between 26 and 29 psi these days. And after that, you should be basically ready to go. Just a quick note to say that whilst grinding your rims will significantly improve the performance of your brake, having them well bled, using decent brake components, especially the pads, and having everything else on your bike really well set up will do just as much to make your brake work as effectively as it possibly can. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more like it, then please do subscribe. Thanks very much.